Hey, if you've been listening to Slow Baja for a while, you know I love Class 11 racing. Well, today's conversation is with the 2021 SCORE International Class 11 champions, the GHA racing team. Alex, Clyde, and Pete sat down with me outside of a pool hotel at the Hacienda Bugambilias in La Paz a day after they had completed their 40-hour run of the 1,200-mile Peninsula Baja 1000 course, very grueling course. I had just gotten my first night of sleep after basically a five hours of sleep over 4 days, covering the event, getting to the event. I had just had a good night's sleep and was walking out of the hotel for a very late breakfast as these guys were rolling in, and they looked thrashed. And I wish I'd put the microphones in their hands right then, but I promised that I'd let them rest, have a cold beer, and then I'd catch up with them the next day, and that's what we did. The mic levels are all over the place on this one. We were outdoors. There's a lot of atmosphere noise. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the conversation. There was some mic sharing between a couple guys because I was having some technical problems, but I hope you enjoy the conversation, and I will be back with a new show next week. All right, here we go. Hey, this is Michael Emery. Thanks for tuning into the Slow Baja. This podcast is powered by Tequila Fortaleza, handmade in small batches, and hands down, my favorite tequila. Hey, I want to tell you about your new must-have accessory for your next Baja trip. Benchmark Maps has released a beautiful, beautiful Baja California Road and Recreation Atlas. It's a 72-page large format book of detailed maps and recreation guides that makes the perfect planning tool for exploring Baja. Pick yours up at benchmarkmaps.com. It's Slow Baja, and I'm at Hacienda Bugambilias in La Paz, Baja California Sur, and we are going to sit down and talk about what it's like to run a Class 11 on a Peninsula Baja 1000. So I've got Alex Gonzales. Clyde, what's your last name?
Stiers.
Clyde Stiers. Pete McLeod. And we're sharing some microphones. There's going to be a lot of background noise, but it's going to be fun. Clyde made some fabulous coffee. I was supposed to give my second cup to somebody else, but I gave it to myself, so thank you, Clyde. And we're just going to get on to it. So you guys won the championship.
Yeah, we did.
So let's break down Class 11 racing for folks who know nothing about it. Stock VW, quote on air quotes here, stock VW.
So, yeah, stock geometry, front and rear suspension. I mean, you're using factory VW arms and spindles that the bug came with, whether it's a 60s bug, 68, 69, whatever it is. Stock front arms, stock beam, stock springs. The rear suspension has stock trailing arms. All that stuff is basically what it came with. And then when you're looking for spare parts for these things, you're looking for good used spare parts. So there's really no way to determine how they've been treated in the past.
The metallurgy. Of
your metal
parts.
fatigue. You're like, well, this, with the way we sourced our parts for our spares was, well, this looks like a bug that hasn't been too abused. Maybe we can use that for our spares. And then we've got basically the only advantage that it has over a regular bug you'd see driving around on the highway is it has a cage, which adds some rigidity to the vehicle overall. And then we have some shocks that are, really limited on what shocks we can use. But overall, it's basically a stock VW bug. It has to run a 1,600 cc displacement, stock cylinder heads, very restricted. So it's a hot rod 1,600 motor. Stock VW transmission. Well, we can do some modifications to the trans, but not a lot. Has to be a Type 1, whatever it came with for the model year.
So let's jump into what's it like to drive it. Alex, you're the driver, right?
Yes.
And you have to have more than one driver for folks who don't know anything about Baja racing. You're not going to Ironman a vehicle like yours. How many hours start to finish?
I believe we were 40 hours and 41 minutes. to do 42 hours. I'm sorry, 42 hours and 40 something minutes.
Sorry that I'm laughing so soon into the podcast.
That's a long way.
It's it's kind of like a blur, but we do split it up. A 200, 300 mile run in a class 11 is, it's a good 7-8 hours, depending. At the last race I did, like 180 miles in 6 hours, but it was, it just depends on the terrain and what else is thrown in front of you. But if you got a clean run, you can do that section fairly quick. But it's still a Volkswagen class 11. It's not a trophy truck or a class 1 buggy with a ton of suspension, so it beats you up pretty good. But I think when you're in there and you're doing good and you're first on the road, which thankfully we have been most of the races this year, it gives you a little more drive to get to the next pit and hand it off to these guys. So it's a long way. I got in at the 1,000 and went to 200 and then got to rest quite a bit. But even though you have those 20 something hours on the highway to get to your next pit, it's hard to sleep. And in a chase truck is very dangerous down here, and trying to stay up with your drivers and everything. But yeah, it's a blast. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, so let me explain that a little bit. You're jumping out of the vehicle, the race vehicle, and getting into a support vehicle, and then the race vehicle goes on more dirt, squiggly lines, race course up and down the around the peninsula, what have you, and the chase vehicle is going down the highway to the next stop. But you need to eat, you need to stop, and you're going to need to sleep, but you're trying to sleep in a vehicle doing 60, 70, 80 miles an hour on a sometimes less than safe road. So it takes some level of exhaustion to be able to switch off and go to sleep in the passenger seat or the back seat of this truck.
Yeah, we have some we have some pretty strict rules on that, as our team goes. We do have some drivers that they go the long haul, man. They're just beasts behind the wheel, but we always make sure that somebody's up with them in the front seat, and then someone in the back can rest. And if there isn't a third person, then that the guy in the front has to be up with him. But yeah, it's very dangerous. These highways are crazy. You're dealing with cows and horses and semis, which are like hot rod semis down here. I don't know what they're like, unrestricted or something. They're doing these mountain roads at 100 miles an hour is something it looks like, but it's we see a ton of close calls. You have a lot of chase teams that have fallen back, and think they're gonna finish first or something because they're making unsafe passes and just doing crazy things to get down the highway. But we just take it easy and be safe about it, and that's our number one goal is to finish, obviously, but to do it safely and come home after the race. So we have a lot of strong rules on safety.
What's that line from Nacho Libre? Hey, take it easy, man.
Yeah, take it easy. If someone doesn't come home from Mexico, we all lose. So
yeah, and it's supposed to be fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's all for the fame and the glory, but it's and bragging rights, I guess. But because the check's not big enough to support even a quarter of this effort. But when you're down here like this, and hanging out with everybody, and at the end of the day, I do it because I love hanging out with all these guys. If I told this guy if he
pointing
stopped
to Clyde,
yeah, if he stopped coming around and all these other guys, I would just sell everything because it's just part of being with your friends and people you love to hang out with and doing it for them, not just yourself. So
it's a major capital A adventure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's like you can't explain off-road racing to anybody. It's like people at home, or that have no idea, that aren't into motorsports or racing or cars, and like, oh, is it you go through dirt? Like, is it you hit rocks? Is it bumpy? Is like, and you're just like, man, I wish I could like put you in the car and show you what the hell we go through, because it's just stupid.
So you've raced some other things off-road.
Yeah. I started in 2006 with we were fortunate enough to start, pretty high up, and Ended up doing pretty well with it. It was a Class 1 buggy. Did a couple local races. We tried a Baja 500, and we finished like dead last, with like a minute to spare. So did that, and then raced that all the way to like '08. Then the market kind of hit everybody, and then we, parked it for a good while. And we really didn't do anything. In 2013, we started, kind of picking back up. We raced Clyde's 5 Unlimited in the 2013 Baja 1000. And we did pretty well, but we timed out. So that kind of sparked it again. And then we hit a couple code races. And then, from there, we hit a few races in the buggy. And then we saw the Spec Trophy trucks coming on board, and went to watch a buddy race his. And immediately after that, we sold that and got into a Spec truck. And I think we debuted that in 15. Yeah, in 2015, we, kind of got our team back together with Clyde at the helm, and immediately had success. We podiumed the first race at Parker 425, and I think we got second at the Mint.
We got like 6th or 7th.
Yeah, 6th or 7th at the Mint.
You'll need a mic.
We got like 6th or 7th at the Mint. It was a rough day. The Mint is a really rough course, and then the third race of that season was the Silver State.
Yeah, we won that.
And he won, and that was just like incredible. That was really, really cool. There's nothing like talking to your driver on the radio and telling the rest of the guys on the team, and all the racing guys out there will know. There's nothing like saying you're first on the road. Copy.
Yeah. When you hear that, it's nice, but it's also nerving, because I don't want to let all them down and do something stupid or the car breaks. I mean, it's inevitable that you could have a mechanical failure, but if you're pushing too hard as a driver and something happens, you're kind of letting everyone down. But yeah, so we did the Spec truck. We did good. We got a second in points championship in Best in the Desert. Then we entered it in the Baja 1000 in 2017, which was the longest peninsula run that we have ever done at that time. And we ended up podium 3rd place that race. And that was really cool. We ended up here at this same hotel at the end of the day. And then from there, we hit a couple little races. We teamed up with some other people, and we're driving their truck for a while. And then, just kind of got burnt out, I think, on that with life and kids and, and just other stuff, going on. But we always all remained close. And then we took I've had a Class 11 probably for like 5 or 6 years now. And the car was just, street legal, but it was a race car. And I just wanted it just because they're cool. Who the hell doesn't want a Class 11 car? And then we met Tim Sletton, and everything kind of fell into place. I was telling him last night. It's like, man,
hang on for a second. We're gonna. Can you just give me 30 seconds on the Sletton family legacy and Volkswagen Motors?
Go ahead. Yep.
No, go ahead. You jump in. Just
so
tell the Slow Baja worlds about.
There's I think there's 3 of them. It's Dennis is the dad. Tim and Richard are the sons. Tim being the youngest, I've kind of known of them, they're younger than me, but you hear about them in our valley, the Volkswagen guys, they've been racing everything Volkswagen since, for like 40, 50 years. And I've met Tim a couple times on the job site because we're a home builder, and he's done some gates on some certain projects. And one day I have a Porsche 912 and it needed some carburetor love. And so I kind of hit him up on Instagram and said, hey, you want to come look at this car? I need some work on it. And then he did. And then, then we started looking at the Class 11. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll bring it over. We'll get it going. And, we'll see what we got with that. And then it just kind of took off from there. And he invited us to Rage at the River.
It was Battle at Prim.
Yeah, Battle at Prim. And, our program kind of started there. We blew a motor up in qualifying. We had like a stock. Come to find out, the motor was like stock in it. It was just, half the horsepower that it should have been. And I think we qualified like 8th or 7th still. And then it seized up, so we didn't get to run that race. Then we took it to King of the Hammers, and I entered it in the short course race. And hung with some of the people in back with the stock motor. and bang some doors, and then we were kind of hooked, and all right, well, I need that Slutton motor. So, but yeah, to go back on that, Tim had, I think he's been on his own now. He ended up starting Slutton Engineering, so he's doing race engines and prep. And Pete, oh shit, sorry about that.
We got a coffee down. There's a coffee down.
Coffee down.
Coffee down. Copy that. Hey, Clyde, why don't you jump in here and talk about, again, starting sort of at the top of this crazy off-road racing stuff.
Yeah.
That you're in Spec Trophy Truck. So that from my understanding,
go ahead.
From my understanding, trophy truck with a common motor.
Yeah.
So you've got the trophy truck, but everybody's got the same sort of motor. So it's supposed to be more competitive and less expensive. But it's high six-figure racing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to peel that
nobody would like
that
to talk
scab
about
off
that
and talk
part of
about
it,
the
yeah.
dollars, but it's not seven-figure racing, but it's damned expensive.
Yeah. It is one of the most competitive classes out there. So it is basically a trophy truck. It's an unlimited vehicle. Obviously, you have to run a 3-speed turbo transmission with a turbo 400 transmission, but it's unlimited basically except for the engine. So we're running 39-inch tires, 40 inches of wheel travel in the back, all these types of things. And so that was fun. I mean, that was really exciting to be a part of that program. And, it's a real honor that Alex, invited me to participate and kind of run the program. It was a challenge, and it was a big commitment from all of us. And Alex has been good about making the commitment as a team owner and saying, and I'm a frugal guy myself. I just watch what I spend. I try to pay attention to what's going on, and I'm frugal, and I think Alex knows that about me. So we would get by on what we could, and he knew that when I was, hey, we need this, we need that. If Clyde says we need it, then we actually really need it. It wasn't wasn't into getting fluff and fancy stuff or whatever. We'd get what we needed. And so as far as spec truck racing goes, we kind of did it on as much of a budget as you possibly could compared to a lot of the other teams. So, and I've been around Volkswagens literally since I was born with my family. And then, my uncle was Trikes by Steyrs, so I did all that stuff. And then, I've just loved Volkswagens forever. King of the Hammers comes around. We race a spec truck, which is fun. It was we did that. And then Alex ran the bug, and, his co-driver at the time, Dave Jameson, told me, he says, you haven't lived until you're 6 feet in the air in a class 11, and you look over and there's another one in the air next to you. He's like, dude, I'll never forget that.
That's a good visual.
And that just went, that was it, and Alex was like, oh, dude, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And so now you've got a team of a spec truck team that has been successful, at season championships, second place, a lot of wins under our belt. We won Parker 425 in 16, 11th overall. The whole race. Stuff like that. We won that race, and, getting down here in Baja and that. And then you take our team with our, desire, our
drive to win.
Our drive to win, our competitiveness.
And the knowledge of everybody.
And then say, all right, let's race bugs. Now you've got guys like me who can put it together, the program. You've got guys like Tim, and you've got guys like Pete who, this guy was almost in tears because we weren't going to get a first place. And I'm like, dude, we're trying, if you can finish a peninsula run in a class 11, you won.
Yeah.
You won. It's really, really challenging. It's a bucket list thing for so many people. And so we came down. This is our first season racing class 11. We went to the San Felipe 250. We had a DNF. It was tough. That was a really, really tough pill to swallow. And I think as a team, we were kind of like, man, this is really hard. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, this must be harder than we thought it was. And I know that a lot of the other Class 11 guys were thinking, oh, look at this truck team, thinks they can come down and race the bugs like it's no big deal. And on top of that, we had a really bad showing at King of the Hammers right out of the gates. So I know there was some talk, you know, oh, look what he did. And then it turns out it's a stock motor, no prep. There was no prep on the car. You know, we weren't ready. So then we came to the Baja 500.
Yeah, I think we as a team, we were like, what the hell, you know, like, this is not
we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we know what we're doing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and then we just like, all right, we got to really buckle down and get our shit together. And like, we made just a couple adjustments.
You know, with that, you know, about that, we have, Tim was all fired up, you know, and I think that, you know, he's the guy. And there was we had that DNF. There was a few parts we were missing, and this and that. And you know, I'm kind of a hard ass. Well, not kind of. I'm a hard ass. So these guys are all nodding their heads yes, by the way. So I told Tim, look, dude, we're either gonna freaking do this or we're not. So if you want to do it, let's do it. If we're not gonna go like 110%, I don't want to sign. I don't want my name. I don't want to do it. He got that, and he learned a lot at San Felipe. Sometimes you got to get your ass whooped to learn something. And so we came to the 500 ready to rock and roll. I mean, it was a completely different motivation. The team was like fired up when we were like, do whatever it takes. So 500 comes around. We finished the race with 1 minute and 1 second to spare. We were the first team to finish the Baja 500 in 3 years. That's how tough it is in that class.
So for folks who don't understand, there is a time limit that you can start and finish. And when people say they timed out, that meant that the
Clock expired.
The clock expired. That's an indication of how difficult this is. So what's the clock for a 1,000 Peninsula run, which is really what, 1,200
50
something?
hours.
50 hours to go 1,200 miles.
So yeah, so I think that you must average about 25 miles an hour right in there, 25 and change. So
All
you,
right.
so you have to.
So the 500 you get in, a minute to spare. Take it from there.
Yeah. I did the last section from Vicente Guerrero up to Urupan, and it was so difficult. I mean, we had fog, we had dust, these hills it was just insane. And my co-driver, I mean, we made it. I couldn't believe it. And it's like I kept going, what time is it? I kept asking him, what time is it? What time is it? Because I had an idea what time we needed to finish. Then I just stopped asking him because I said, you know what? I'm not even going to ask. I'm going as fast as I possibly can. That's all I can do.
You're going to make it or you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
I mean, it was so bad that several points along the way, I literally thought the shocks had fallen off the front of the car. I was like, this is so freaking rough, dude. Like, what the hell's going on? I go, I think the shocks came off, bro. I think they got broke. It was just brutal. And these guys have a tendency to hand me, the old timer, the freaking car at the end of the race. Like, oh, Clyde will get it done. He'll get it there. He can work on the car. He'll get it there. He's level-headed. But they hand me a crap car. It's got no freaking
out at that point.
It's clapped out, dude. The shocks are junk. There's no brakes. You know, it's got all these, you know. So, but I guess they know I'm used to driving piles of junk. So like, oh, well, this is normal for him. I don't know what they say. But it's pretty cool because they have faith in me to get it that last little bit.
It's like the closing scene of the movie Le Mans.
Yeah.
Are you fit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want Porsche to win Le Mans.
Yeah.
So that's it. Are
that
you
was
fit, Clyde? Are you fit?
Yeah. So our season there starts with a DNF right out of the gates, and then it starts with a win. And that was like incredible. People loved it. You know, it was pretty phenomenal. I mean, that was one of my greatest racing memories, and it will be forever. I mean, it was just, I was like a little baby at the finish, dude. I mean, I was emotionally and physically just destroyed after 9 hours in the car. And with one, it was incredible. I'm kind of rethinking about those memories at the finish line right now.
Clyde's welling up behind his dark glasses.
So,
well, with that 1 minute to spare too, it's like, you know, you think of all the little issues we had, you know, throughout the race, and like if
10 seconds here, 10 seconds there.
Yeah, literally seconds. You know, literally, like if, you know, we had to fix the lights when Tim and Pete were in the car.
Yeah, they were driving with no lights.
I had to take off a fender because it was rubbing on the tire. You know, like if I would have just took 2 seconds there more, and then when we got stuck, if Junior wasn't running up a hill to go find somebody, if he was walking or something, there was 5 seconds there, and all that adds up, and it could have resulted into a DNF, but I don't know. Someone was watching over us up there, and, it just fell into place, but that is crazy, to think it was literally a minute that could have easily
one way or the
expired.
other.
Yeah, we had the headlights, the lights went out on the car, so Alex was like, "You guys got to go." I wasn't there.
Here's a flashlight.
He literally handed them a flashlight to Pete here, who's a co-driver in the car. Handed Pete a flashlight and said, "Point it out the window. You guys got to go." Right? So all this stuff adds up. And then there was one point in the race in Urupan to where I tried to go up this hill. It had giant ruts. It was like, and I backed down it. I thought I was going to crash backing down the hill. I gave another shot at it. I said, okay, I got to go this way instead. I tried to do it again. But the ruts are so big, and you have a stock VW bug that you basically what you do, and the guys know this, you just point and pray. You point it up the hill, and you go for it, and no matter which way you turn the car, it's going to go where it's going to go. If it lands in, it's just is what it is. So I tried it again, and I stopped in the exact same spot. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Now, this is about 6 o'clock in the morning. There are no fans around. Everybody's gone.
Nobody's going to help you.
We're in the middle of nowhere.
You're on your own.
We're on our own. I get out of the car, and I said to myself, this is it. This is where we DNF our Baja 500. And this is why it is so hard. That's it. Unfortunately, this is it. And
then you find some inner strength.
No. I found strength through God, right? So I sat there and I prayed to God. I said, so we help an orphanage in Tijuana. And the orphanage comes with us to all the races. We put them up, and we love having them around. It's just a big party, right? We take all these kids that are from the streets of TJ, and their adopted mom and dad, and they just party with us, And so I'm sitting there, and I prayed to God. I said, hey, I don't know, man. I know that I cannot do this without your help. I'm so jammed up right now. It's just me and Nelson. Like, we're done. I don't know what else to do. I have no one else. Help me. And I turn around. I just closed, and I turned around, and about a quarter mile away on the hill, 3 guys walk over a hill in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, waving.
Bearing gifts?
Waving, motioning to them, like, come here, come here, come here. So they immediately start running down this hill. Now, myself, I can tell you that if I would have been those guys, I would have walked to you. I wouldn't have ran. I would have said, don't tell me to run, dude. Just be grateful that I'm walking. I'm not going to run. So they start shuffling down this hill, almost falling into the rocks and everything. They come over, and they push us up the hill, and we make it, right? There's 3 of them, and Nelson's out pushing, and we made it. But bear in mind, if they didn't run,
1 minute, right?
We wouldn't have made it.
Right.
Yeah, so the whole thing is just incredible. So we get that done. Everyone's like, oh, they're lucky. They got lucky. Oh, da. All right, so then we come back at the Baja 400. Again, Alex starts out the race. Now you've got a guy that's used to seeing terrain and things come at him at 110 miles an hour. Now you put him in slow motion at 25 miles an hour, and he's just like threading a needle. He puts on like a 2-hour gap on the field by like race mile 150. So then the nice thing about that is we put our ringer in the beginning of the race. So then he gives us other guys a good cushion. We get in, hey, no pressure, take your time. We've got a gap on these guys. At this point, now you're just racing Baja itself to get the finish. So then we put it on a clinic at the 400, no issues. We come to now we come to the Baja 1000, and it's a peninsula run. So instead of just racing, 4 or 5, or, I think we had 7 at the Baja 500 and only 3 entries at the 400. Now you're racing 12 of the best Class 11 racers around. And that was pretty exciting because, Alex is nodding his head because he loves competition.
I don't want to be the guy to race against, nobody. I think that's kind of lame, and at the end of the day, you're racing Baja. It's kind of like the other teams don't matter, not that they can't, make it or anything. I'm just saying you're just racing Baja because that's your hardest competitor, right?
Yeah.
But to come to a field of 12 other guys and plus us, that's cool. Then you start hearing, oh, you got this guy, from La Paz, and you got, this team and that team, and oh, they hired this guy to drive that, and I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, we're not scared. Dude.
Yeah, that
that gets me
bother
fired
me,
up. That's like, let's go.
I said we are, we're that guy. They're probably saying the same thing, but no, it's great to have that competition and and to do well and beat that many people is good. So because we're used to in the States, we have much higher car count, especially in like Spec Truck. We were racing 20, 25 people at a time and
30 sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes 30 and beating them. So, but yeah.
Hey, do you wish you had joined us on the NORA 500? Well, here's your chance. It's double the mileage, double the fun, double the parties, double the dirt. It is the NORA Mexican 1000. We're going to drive by day. We're going to party by night. I'm pouring 4 delays of tequila. April 30th through May 6th, 2022. We're driving the entire peninsula. You don't want to miss out on this one. Again, if I can do it in my 1971 Toyota Land Cruiser, totally stock, you can do it in any modern 4x4. The NORA Mexican 1000 is the happiest race on earth. Check it out at nora.com, NORRA.com, or on Slow Baja. Here at Slow Baja, we can't wait to drive our old Land Cruiser south of the border. And when we go, we'll be going with Baja Bound Insurance. The website's fast and easy to use. Check them out at bajabound.com. That's bajabound.com, serving Mexico travelers since 1994. Well, let's bring Cowboy Pete into this conversation. Pete looks like he's normally barrel racing or roping steers or whatever. How did you
tell him? True story. Yeah, you could ask this guy what he's done in the last 3 months, and you'd be amazed.
He's got a ball cap on that says the Crooked Hooker Ranch.
Shout out Justin Pierce.
So tell us about your involvement. How'd you get down here and what do you do normally, and how'd you get into this? And what's your take on Baja?
So I do a lot of different stuff. Right now I'm a VW mechanic, and I help prep off-road race cars with Tim Sletton. This is my first year with these guys, and it's been one of the craziest years of my life. It's been really good, a lot of fun. Alex brought Tim in, to do some driving after they had built the car and prepped together and whatnot on Alex's car at King of the Hammers. And I had been running with Tim Sletton for a while. I've known them my whole life. I'm real good friends with these guys. And it never quite worked out when I was younger. I grew up in Wyoming. My parents were in the military, so now that I'm full-time in California, I started spending a lot of time around the VW thing. My family's been in it a long time. My grandpa and my uncle have been big-time Volkswagen guys. They raced in the 80s in Volkswagens, and shout out Manfred at OPA. And those guys, helped the Slettons a lot. And Dennis, Tim and Richard's dad.
Legendary figure. He's basically the Bill Strop of
Volkswagens.
He's the dude.
Yeah, they've been around running with my family way back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, and ran an auto body shop together and stuff. So, there's a lot of history there. So it was cool for me to jump in, kind of all in for the first time in my life and take it seriously. And been running with Tim, building a lot of stuff, doing a lot of cool stuff, and we got the opportunity to come over here and race with Alex in this SCORE season, and it's been one insane adventure.
So let me stop you right there, Pete, as the new guy. As the Wyoming dude on this team.
Yeah.
I often want to explain Baja to people, or people ask me to explain Baja to them. And there's a lot of dirt in California. There's a lot of dirt in southern United States. How is the dirt here different? How is the racing here different? And how are the people here different?
So Baja is legitimately like my version of the Wild West. I didn't know what, Baja would be like. You just hear about it, and you get down here and it's just this insanely beautiful, crazy place. The rules are all different. You don't really have to stop at a stop sign if you don't want to. The desert is really harsh, to be honest. You get out.
Baja says stop at the stop signs.
yeah.
Note.
It's like a recommendation the cab driver told me last night. But it's definitely different than the States. The desert, it's gnarly. There's just, I don't know, the course these guys set up is crazy sometimes, and you go through terrain that you'd think would be similar to the States, but it's not really. It's I don't know. It's a different kind of desert, but it's really cool. It's beautiful. I don't get to see it too often because we usually race in the dark, but it's nice in the daytime. Yeah, we're the night riders. But it's fun. Baja's really cool. It's really crazy. The people down here are beautiful. They're super awesome. Everybody, all the race fans, it's crazy different from the States because you race in the States and you're not even allowed to be anywhere near the course. There's no spectating like that. You'd be lucky if you can sit in some grandstands and see them for 20, 30 seconds. You get down here and, there's people in the middle of the course. You're dodging animals. You just don't see that stuff in the States. We came up a hill in the 400, I think it was, and there was 30 cows in the middle of the road. We're honking at these cows, trying to get them off the road so we can keep going. And it's nutty down here, but it's crazy fun. There's nothing. I've never been a part of anything like this. It's wild.
And Pete, give me 30 seconds on what the job of a co-driver is.
Yeah, so a co-driver's job is to be the ultimate hype man.
You're doing great, buddy.
Yeah. So
it's going great.
You want to know about the car. Really, I'm a navigator is, I guess, what it comes down to. I've got a GPS system in front of me that has the race course downloaded into it. And I need to make sure that our driver can go as fast as he possibly can, which means that I need to be letting him know what's around the next turn, 5 to 6 seconds before we get to it so that he can set himself up to run as fast as we possibly can. So I'm navigating and giving him notes, and then, when things happen, I'm usually the one who would ideally get out of the car to fix it. Like flat tires, I'm jumping out, I'm pulling the spare tire out from under the hood, I'm jacking the car up, changing it. I'm in usually the radio communications guy. I'm, trying to communicate. We want the driver to just drive, basically. So I'm trying to take all the other factors out of play. If things are going on at the pit, I'm the one who's going to relay to them about that and let them know we're coming in with these issues. And stuff
all
like that.
All the information gleaned about what's coming ahead comes from pre-running.
Correct.
So that's your own efforts to pre-drive the course as soon as the course is released and make notes about what's what. Here you're going this fast. Here you can go that fast. Watch out for this. And then there's all the other stuff that happens.
Yeah, so we actually came down, me, Clyde, and a couple other guys 2-3 weeks ago, at least for the 1,000, and we pre-ran, 520 miles or so?
We ran from 200 to 7. Yeah, we ran from 200 to 700.
And, we got a lot of notes, so we just go through and pre-mark on our GPS system, so when we're racing, I can go back, and I'm seeing all these little dots on the map, and it's got a note next to each one, so I'll know, there's a big checkup here, we need to slow the car down, or if we stuff in that checkup without that note, it could end our race. We'll fold the front beam or fold the frame. So you just, it's pre-running is crucial for sure.
Hey, let's go around.
Except for guys like Alex, sorry.
Yeah, he just sees
he doesn't need it.
He's a see and drive guy. Hey, let's go around and wrap it up. So Pete, thank you. Clyde, again, give me your takeaway from everywhere you started, Spec Trophy Truck to Class 11. What's the mentality to say, yeah, we're doing it? It's absolutely as hard or maybe harder than any other class in this thing. And you have that. Normally people, I would think, my ignorance, I would think people would say, I'm going to start in a Class 11 because it's less expensive, it's slower, and I'm going to work my way up. You guys went the opposite way.
Off-road dyslexia is what I call it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I call it, there's a lot of things I could call it, but none of them are very flattering.
Insanity would be,
That's probably one of the, we raced a Spec Truck. We had one belt come off the whole way. We had a couple flats. It was a super clean run, no issues. We even talked about it. Alex was like, that was kind of boring. It wasn't even that exciting. We drove down, we did the race, and we went home, which was great. That's what you want. But, man, running this Class 11 car, at every race it's an adventure, because these things come in after 150 miles on the course. They're going to need some love in one way or another, and you got to shake the whole car out, You're looking at it, change the air filter, do this. We blew a transmission up at race mile 200 at this Baja 1000. So a lot of guys, I think, like a lot of our competition was like excited about that, and I don't blame them because I would be
guys
too.
are done.
Yeah, we're out, or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, they should.
They should never count you out.
That was very gracious of them. I mean, gracious of us to hand that gift over, because we were down for 2.5 hours at race mile 200 by changing a transmission in a gas station parking lot, and by race mile 820, we were first on the road. So if we wouldn't have had to change that transmission, which is no fault of anyone's, it happens. Alex, don't ever put the freaking car in reverse again. Not that it had anything to do with it. I mean, but just
no, it's. I mean, it all stems from that, and I'll take accountability for that. So.
But so we put that in. We had 2.5 hours of downtime. You could see the whole video of changing it on our Instagram. It's GHA Racing on Instagram. The whole thing was live. And we came back from 2.5 hours of downtime, and at race mile 820, we were first on the road. So there's some skills involved there, because Tim and Pete were in it from 200 to 400. I got in it from 400 to 600, the ish, everything. And then Armando, Ventura, and Edgar were in it from there to 900. And, Alex, Tim got back in. Tim and Pete got back in when we're battling with the for first place. And then we had some electrical issues that what ended up taking us out from the win at the end of the day. It's so funny because we come down and you're like, okay, we got a spare trans, we got spare arms, we got all these different spares. Do you know what took us out what took the win away from us at the end of the day?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
The radio fell out of the car. It busted the whole front tin and the parcel tray in the front of the car. It ripped out, and it took some of the wiring harness with it. How do you prepare for that?
Yeah.
We even welded a metal reinforced bar to support the radio.
Right.
And it broke, and that was it. So we were able to hobble it back into the pit. Pete and Tim called on the sat phone. Hey, what? So they got it back in. We rigged it together real quick, and then, me and Alex had the same conversation at the Baja 1000 in 2017 in the same area. Okay, what do you do at this point? Are you going to run this guy down in first place and throw the car away and possibly even end up with a DNF? Or are we going to go in and cruise into a finish? And maybe those guys something will happen to them, because we were still 200 miles from the finish. And so, but anyways, running out of time. But yeah, it was freaking awesome, dude. I mean, I feel like I'm on top of the world, dude. I mean, this was just, I can't thank you enough, Alex, for having me be a part of the team, and Monica, she supports me in all this kind of crazy stuff, and it's super nice meeting you. I mean, it's just Baja is just incredible, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's just the best.
Alex, take us home.
Yeah, no, like what Clyde said, at that point, just to finish off the race, it's, we're in a little bit of a different position because we're racing against one other car in our class that could have won the championship. So there was a couple different multiples, variables on, if he finished and we didn't, he would win. If we both finished, we win. So there was all kinds of variables there. And then, I want to go for the win, but at the same time, I didn't really know what I was going to do once I got back in. I knew that the lead car was 20 miles away, which is not a ton. But
20 over 200.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's doable. We've already came back
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours from the back. So I just got in and we just ran a decent pace. We had no radio communication, so I didn't know where we were. But I knew that I could see him at any corner. He could have got a flat or blah, 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 or whatever. But we just took it in, at a decent pace. At that point, long. That was a lot of hours in, a couple days, and I just wanted to get it there. And I knew if we got it there, we'd be on the podium or we'd win. It was a tough section, a lot of silt. The fog was hanging, and then we got in about 25 miles, to the finish. the car cuts out. You know, I'm like, what the hell? So
we were in second at that.
Yeah,
point.
we were in second at that point.
Second place.
And you know, I'm checking stuff. Come to find out, the car ran out of fuel. We miscalculated, you know, all the silt and the sand. I mean, we didn't know what was on the course at that time because we didn't pre-run that far down. So again, that goes back to being prepared and making the effort to pre-run. But it is what it is. So we called in on the sat phone for fuel. One of our guys drove down to an access road, and Mr. Pete here, we saw him running with a 5-gallon can full, jamming down the course. He runs like a half mile down the course. We dumped 3 gallons in it. Dumped 3 gallons in it. And,
high school sprinter.
At that point, I was like pissed. You know, I was like, this is BS, man.
Well, because did you tell him the other car, the second? So we were running second, and then the
place,
third place.
Yeah, second place ended up passing us, and that sparked me. I don't like being passed, and I knew he was in second at that point. You know, and they were moving pretty good. You know, they weren't lighting the world on fire. And so that was about 15 minutes come by. Pete's running up, and we dumped 3 gallons in it. We strap up and just go. I knew that we had 20 miles, so I just kind of was driving a little stupid. And
and I got to throw a quick side note into, you know, anybody who's wondering. The only way you can pass the GHA truck or Class 11 car is if it's parked on side of the road. Other than that, you're not getting around. And if anybody who says they have, I'd like to hear a story about it, because unless we're broke or the car's limping in, you're not going to pass it on the road when it's running good.
Yeah, so we the last 20 miles coming into La Paz is brutal. Like huge whoops, sandy. There you got the stairs that they call them. There's like 8 giant stairs. You know, I did that in my truck and it was rough. The car, like every step, I thought the front end was gonna break off, the back end was gonna break off. The front end, the back end, I'm like, and Junior's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, the second gear was going, so I was just wrapping it out in first, and then you know, we finally made it in. I saw my team at the same exact corner that I saw them when we did it in the Spec Truck, and we were running in almost the same position. You know, throw it into first, wrap it out, hauling ass down the highway, like a quarter mile past. We start running out of fuel again. So it's like cutting out, and I could see this guy that we had caught. You know, he was probably driving like a normal person, just trying to get to the finish, to where I was just being a total asshole. I thought it was going to break, but I didn't really care.
And you're driving through traffic at this stage.
There was a bunch of people cheering us on. It's just, you know how rough it is coming into La Paz, and then I see his lights right on the highway. So he was like maybe a quarter mile, so we put a huge gap on him, you know, and he was probably like, oh, this guy's broke, I'm just going to limp it in, but we had different plans. So get it on the highway, we start running out of fuel again. We're like a 3/4 of a mile from the finish. It dies rolling at 60, and I drop it into second and pop the clutch, and it starts back up, and we're reeling this guy in, and then I see him turn into the finish line. It dies again, and then I pop it into first and drop the clutch, and it starts again. And at that point, the tranny's probably smoked. Yeah. And then we reel him in at the last second. I finish right behind him, and he got across the line before me, but I snuck right in front of him, and there's probably video of it. And I know he was pissed about that. But we're racing to the end, man. I don't. No,
it's fun. And that's really it. That's really
we're
it.
Competitive.
You're racing to the very last
second. He might think I'm an a-hole, but you know, it's just. It is what it is. So we're third physically. He was in front of us. Pollo Racing, you know, shout out to them. They ran a good race.
Yeah, they went over the tractor trail.
Yeah, they went over the tractor trail, so they're the real winners. But yeah, we came in, and you know, at that point, I knew we locked in the championship. Was the end goal? You know, everyone wants a win, but we got the season championship, which was amazing.
Well, congratulations. I want to say thanks for making some time for SCORE Baja today.
Yeah, thank you, and great meeting you, man.
I wanted to catch you guys when you had that distant stare in your eyes yesterday, but you looked a little thrashed. So I'm glad we made some time today, and I think this is as fast SCORE Baja as it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's slow, but it's got to feel very fast and super stressful. So congratulations on the championship and all the planning and heartache and sweat and everything that went into it, and I hope you get to enjoy yourself a little bit on the way back north.
Yeah, thank you, and everyone have a safe drive home, and we'll see you guys next year. I think we're gonna we'll see what we do.
So Alex, just tell us one more time on the where people can follow you.
Okay, yeah, so it's at GHA Racing on Instagram, and Facebook. Other than that, I'd like to shout out one little.
Please shout.
So like Clyde said, we support a family in Tijuana. It's called City of Refuge, and they became more family than friends. It's there's 18 kids. They're taken care of by a mom and a dad, adopted obviously, but these kids have all came off the streets of Tijuana. They're walking around at 2 years old with nobody, and these people brought them in. And now they have 18 kids. They've been with us every race so far, and they're like our good luck charms. We put them up, and they're camping, in tents and stuff. But that's like a huge vacation to them. So incredible family. But we put together this Miracles Per Mile campaign, and for this race especially, Monica and Clyde already do a ton for them. And so people were donating per mile that we would make it in the race, and they could pick a cent if they want, or $1 per mile. They could do a straight donation. So that was another thing in our head, just trying to finish for them. And so I think we ended up raising about $8,000 for them, for the family, which is huge.
I will tell you that we went into this race thinking, hey, we would like to get a championship, we'd like to get a win, but at the same token, the more importantly, every mile that we clicked off was going to make a difference in their life. So the thing is still up. It's www.miraclespermile.com. It's open. Man, that was a lot of pressure for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, and dude, I'm gonna get choked up. These guys know what a wuss I am, but I'm hard on the outside, soft on the inside. I'm basically an egg.
Egghead. No, but yeah, so that was I think the biggest task at hand is to finish for them, but everything else on top of it is icing on the cake. So
yeah, I always say, running these cars and all that stuff, like people are like, oh, you guys are Baja warriors, you race class 11, it must be so hard and this and that. They're raising 18 kids every day.
Exactly.
With only donations, only through the grace of God, only from what people will do, and they get it done every day. We come down here and race for a week and we think we're like, oh my gosh, how did we do this? We're maniacs. It's like, nah, dude, they are amazing people. Obed and Evelyn, it's so, yeah, anything anybody can do to help them out, that'd be great.
And there's a link from the Instagram site.
Yeah, it's on my bio.
Yeah,
they
so
could
people
click there. Yeah, we're going to try to keep doing it, as time goes on and stuff. So, again, thank you for having us on. Thank you to my team, everybody, everyone in Baja, and yeah, we'll see what we got going next year. So
check them out. You can find the links on the show notes, and we'll be back soon with a new show next week. So guys, that was really fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers. All right, we did it. Have I told you about my friend True Miller? You've probably heard the podcast, but let me tell you, her vineyard, Adobe Guadalupe Winery, is spectacular. From the breakfast at her communal table, bookended to an intimate dinner at night, their house-bred Azteca horses, Solomon the horseman, will get you on a ride that'll just change your life. The food, the setting, the pool, it's all spectacular. AdobeGuadalupe.com. For appearing on Slow Baja today, our guest will receive the beautiful Benchmark Map 72-page Baja Road and Recreation Atlas. Do not go to Baja without this, folks. You never know when your GPS is going to crap out, and you're going to want a great map in your lap. Trust me.